What's going on, folks? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Bubba Sparxx's third album that came out in early 2006, The Charm. Now, Bubba Sparxxx was affiliated with Big Boy's Purple Ribbon Records back in those days, and Big Boy was kind of on a high with like the song Kryptonite, Yeah, I'm on It. And Bubba Sparxxx was he got basically his biggest hit single in his career with this album, and it was Miss New Booty. But basically, this is a little bit more flashy and a lot more like contemporary than his 2003 album Deliverance, which was pretty much in the mud, in the sticks kind of country rap in a lot of ways. And I don't remember that album too well, but I did at least like the title track Deliverance. But Bubba Sparxxx, he was a pal of Timbaland's back then, but he only has Timbaland once on there this time. But it's just more of kind of a country rapper meets the city in kind of a sense, where there still is plenty of country enthused rap on this project. That's kind of why I reviewed this, is to get a little bit more country stuff up on here. But it's also it's like an amalgamation of halfway country, halfway rap. With it's halfway country, halfway rap, with the consideration as far as saying it's just kind of an outlandish kind of rural album. And that's really like the thing about it. There's a lot of beats on here that I feel like probably most rappers wouldn't have picked. Like, I don't think I could have seen Mike Jones or Ying Yang Twins, or I wouldn't have seen like Ying Yang Twins, Mike Jones, Rick Ross, Jeezy, bunch of those rappers like that on these type of beats. But it's just interesting about it, just because I look after it, and I would have to say that Bubba Sparxxx fits this fold pretty well. So it's good to kind of get this sort of country rap and that sort of stuff going. But unfortunately, like, it just real I feel like a lot of people just probably wrote Bubba Sparxxx off with just Miss New Booty, and that's about it. And I do feel like if you're looking for like a quality of a single as good as that song, it's kind of difficult to find a follow up to it. But the only reason why I think that song was so popular was just because it was so meme ready. It's the quotable, just finding some chick and calling her Miss New Booty is kind of that much of an emphasis. But the problem with it is there's just not another hit single like that. I mean, a lot of folks fell into that trap. Like Lil Jon kind of had those problems, and Ying Yang Twins even had those problems of getting like a hit single and then not having anything else because it just didn't have like the kind of affability and meme readiness and just like quotables and that type stuff. But Bubba Sparxxx fell into that trap, but that does not at all mean that this album is bad. It's actually a pretty outstanding album, and I like a lot of the left field stuff that kind of goes along with some of this. It's really interesting. So the first single from this project is Miss New Booty, and this is pretty quotable. The hook is definitely gorgeous and outstanding. It just works extremely well. And Bubba Sparxxx shows off his kind of country twang style, and he brings the Ying Yang Twins along for the ride. And they're kind of still fresh off their Wait the Whisper song vibe, so they kind of whisper through this song too, and it just creates a pretty stable and guaranteed hit. I mean, Mr. Collar Park produces this song, and he's a producer from Atlanta that used to have a lot of hits in the mid 2000s, and his overall works as a quality song. I mean, I would almost say that this is the best song on the album, but the thing about it is there are better beats, but this is definitely the best single on the project. It makes sense that this song charted as high as it did. It's just too bad that Bubba Sparxxx couldn't get the follow up like a second, third, and even fourth time, but it works as far as being a hit single. The second single, which kind of did not get even an eighth of like the hit potential that Miss New Booty got, was Heated Up. Now, I like this song. I really like the beat on here. I actually like the beat on Heated Up more than I like the beat on Miss New Booty. Not that Miss New Booty is bad, but I feel like Heated Up just has a real kind of like, I don't know if it's like flutes in the song or just some wind instrument kind of on there, but it's a real nice kind of airy, windy kind of beat, and it has a nice uh, pattern to it as it goes along. I mean, Bubba Sparxxx really turned that into a nice definitive single. It is just too bad that it just didn't do that well. I mean, I guess I can kind of see that. I mean, Mr. Collar Park produced that song also, but I can kind of see it not charting as much just because it just didn't have like the elasticated energy of Miss New Booty. It just needed something that's a little bit more in your face, a little bit more kind of with an exclamation point more so than just like a period. It just did not feel like the energy was quite as vivid. I mean, Bubba Sparxxx is just a little bit too calm for this song, And I know, like, it's not like I have a problem with him being calm, but I just would almost think that's what other folks would think is as in terms of the energy. Like, they were excited and exuberant and kind of passionate on Miss New Booty, but Heated Up is just kind of the mellow, kind of laid back Ti type swag that Ti kind of has most of the time. It just felt like more of a swaggering kind of song, and it works. I mean, Bubba Sparxxx could do it, but maybe that should have been the third single. But yeah, it's a good song. I definitely, so Bubba Sparxxx is 2 for 2 with me. He doesn't have any guests on Heated Up, so it's just him doing his solo stuff and knocking it out rather well. But yeah, unfortunately, if I would have picked like the second single, I probably would have went with Runaway. I do feel like this could have been an instant, pretty much hit. Just to talk about This could have been an instant hit just to talk about some of these. Maybe Bubba Sparxxx didn't want to turn that energy into it, but how I probably would have done it is I would have went with Runaway with Frankie J, because that one is basically like a pretty much Runaway with Frankie J is basically just a makeshift ready, kind of endearing and kind of scaping kind of pop rap song that worked pretty damn well. And it just reminded me of like a makeshift and kind of hazy, kind of romantic kind of song that you'd probably hear on MySpace and places like that. The type of song that Justin Bieber and Rihanna would do, and even Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato, with kind of like the light guitar licks and acoustic guitar on there, but the beat is pretty great. I mean, most of the time I don't always steer for those kind of makeshift kind of after work songs in like a acoustic sense, but this one did a really nice guitar arrangement to where I would have liked that. So Runaway should have been the second single, and then I would have went on to Heat It Up. But yeah, to talk about some of these, like, I'm gonna go ahead and list the 7 songs out of 11 that I recommend to you. So that's pretty much most of the project. So the songs I recommend would be Represent, Heat It Up, Hey a Little Gratitude, Runaway, Claremont Lounge, That Man, and Miss New Booty. That's pretty awesome that over, 3/4 of the project almost, somewhere about 70-75% of the project kicks ass. And I would have to say, to talk about some of these, like Hey a Little Gratitude reminds me of like a sports game kind of song. It's the kind of song you'd hear at like a basketball, football kind of game, that type stuff. And a sports, some stadium place where you're going to hear sports going out and that sort of thing. Definitely has like a nice kind of bleachers kind of feeling towards it. I just really like that. I would definitely listen to this song with a couple drinks in my hand and getting flirty and that type stuff. It definitely works pretty damn well. Represent is a nice way to kick off the album, and this kind of yeah, it just, I mean, this is kind of more rap oriented. This is not so much a country one, but this is kind of more just kicking it off. Bubba Sparxxx putting it down for what he's like and what he's about and stuff. I like how that one kind of went. This had a nice kind of club sounding beat on there, but not quite as much. Just kind of more of like backyard in my opinion for it. And Claremont Lounge, this one really has one of the best beats on the whole project. Just like these sneering kind of synths on the song or whatever it is. It just really has like an oozing kind of feel towards it. It feels like a perfect strip club song. Better beat than Miss New Booty, better beat than Heat It Up, and I would almost say it's just the best beat on the album. They just tore that song apart. Easy kind of strip club song, just an oozing kind of elemental song that just kicks a lot of ass. And then That Man is another snaking kind of smoking song. So some of these are just really intended for that. I really feel like I would definitely smoke to That Man, and that has Sleepy Brown on there. And Duddy Ken, I don't know who that is, but just to kind of say, like, that one is pretty emphasized. And it kind of takes from Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio, which is interesting enough that it has like the same kind of howls and the moans in the chorus as to how that song kind of did it. But I really like that one. It's definitely a great one to smoke to. So in terms of like the country songs, if you're kind of saying, well, where's the country side of things as opposed to the rap side of things, I feel like Hey a Little Gratitude, Runaway, and I would at least say Hey a Little Gratitude and Runaway kind of remind me of like country rap a bit. Those are like the closest ones. But then I would also say songs like That Man and Claremont Lounge are like snaking kind of rural songs also. And it just kind of has like this more kind of out in the backyard kind of feel towards it. Like a lot of this project kind of does that, but It's just a lot of these productions are kind of outlandish and they're just different. Like, I mean, Bubba Sparxxx could have just solely been in the club and just did a bunch of more songs like Miss New Booty, but he kind of brings some like resolve to it that kind of catapults it further. So I feel like Miss New Booty, Claremont Lounge, That Man are kind of the outgoing, stepping out ones. Heated Up is like a decent club bop, but it's just got a kind of left field kind of feel towards it. Represent is kind of like a kind of tell you what I'm about, kind of get it done kind of song. And Runaway is like the saccharine kind of cheery bubblegum pop type song that I think this album did need. And Hey, a Little Gratitude is just kind of stepping out in like a country sense. But that's kind of the concept behind it. There were some awkward beats on here. Like I really did not like As the Rim Spins. Like I felt like that one was kind of, I don't want to say country oriented, but it sounded like just one of the arrangements for how that song went just were not good. Like the beat got on my nerves within like the first 3 seconds of me hearing it. Like another one that was pretty easy to get tired of was The Other Side. I mean, it's too bad it wasted a Petey Pablo feature. And like Ain't Life Grand and Wonderful just had some pretty awkward beats also. I mean, a lot of those just kind of felt like they were just clumsy and just like leftovers that probably shouldn't have seen the light of day. But I mean, Bubba Sparxxx for the most part nails this album. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing about it. I mean, I said that it's country rap, but it's very light in the country sense. I mean, it halfway has it, but most of the best songs kind of have like just a more rural feel. I don't feel like it's quite as country as much as it is rural. And that's kind of the concept about it, where it just kind of feels like you're out in some place in an open field near a campfire, bonfire, something like that, out in the woods, smoking, those type things. I mean, it has all those type feels for just being out in the countryside and the heartlands and that type stuff, and just kind of going along with like trying to enjoy yourself and that type stuff. But I just look after it, and yeah, there's just some good moments. It's just too bad that the main draw of this album for most people is going to be Miss New Booty, which I try to tear away from that and try to get some other ones, but it's just kind of the concept. So me liking 7 out of 11, I'm going to give this album like an 8 out of 10. It's just straight 8 out of 10. I feel like if it had one more, I would have given it a 9. But yeah, 8 out of 10 is pretty damn good. It's just really kick-ass how well this album put together. And I do feel like some of the outgoing hits like Claremont Lounge, That Man, Hey, a Little Gratitude, Heated Up, and Represent, they all follow up the project even further. So Bubba Sparxxx steps out and knows how to have a good time. There's just not a lot to complain about. I'm trying to think about the biggest complaints I have about this project. Like, I mean, minus the fact that it just needed another hit single, I think that's about really the only thing that I had a problem with. It's just a couple hodgepodge beats that were kind of, I feel like some of these songs that were more country sounding were just kind of bad. But I know that he has the ability to pull off country songs because he did it with his Deliverance album, but it just feels like, he was kind of hodgepodge in between some of these things. And the problem with it was most of the, I mean, he needed to work with Timbaland because Timbaland gave him the beat, Hey, a Little Gratitude, and that actually worked extremely well. But it just kind of feels like it's a countryman coming to the city as opposed to just like being in the country also. And it's just kind of, or I like the concept of seeing Bubba Sparxxx when he kind of steps out and is more in the city, but I would have liked to see more hit singles in the rural sense as far as that kind of goes. That's kind of the thing. The social score I will give like a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I'll give the social score a 7 out of 10 just because I feel like Miss New Booty is the highlight, but then there are plenty of follow-up songs, but it just is in terms of the fact that if you're not looking after something, the thing about it is if you're not looking for anything other than hit singles, it's not going to really have it, but it does have some pretty cool moments besides that. It's just kind of Bubba Sparxxx is more of just like an album rapper. That's kind of what I noticed. He's not so much a singles rapper. He's more of like a filled out kind of tries to give you an album type thing. I do feel like there is a moment for the ladies with Runaway, and Miss New Booty is kind of for the ladies too. But some of these more swaggering ones like Heated Up, Claremont Lounge, and That Man kind of provide more. But it's just kind of, I feel like depending upon the audience of who you hang around and what they kind of are willing to delve into, there are some moments. I mean, there's nothing that jumps off the page as exuberantly as Miss New Booty, but there are some kind of, hey, this is kind of cool, let's smoke to this kind of vibes, just in the right setting. They just don't have that sense of immediacy towards them. So that's like the only problem with it. But 7, it's pretty good. Heat It Up's a good song. There are some other ones on here. So in terms of the future, Bubba Sparxxx has dropped a few albums, but this is his biggest album. He just never quite got back to this, and he lost a lot of his buzz because it took him until 2013 to drop another album after this project. I don't know what happened in between. If I would have been Bubba Sparxxx, I would have put out an album in 2008 and followed it up, but he just didn't do it, and that's really too bad because he lost a lot of steam by not doing that. But it's just like, this is a great album. Definitely has a rural sense to it, and Bubba Sparxxx is a kick-ass country rapper, and it has the hits, but it just depends upon how much you're willing to dig for them.